I never believed in curses. I thought ancient Egyptian myths were just that stories. But after spending 100 hours inside the pyramid of Al-Munfarid, an uncharted structure recently uncovered by shifting sands, I'm no longer sure. Because what I found shouldn't exist. It started as a simple endurance challenge, a test to see if I could last 100 hours inside the pyramid alone, documenting everything. I had done similar expeditions before, but this one was different. The locals in the nearby village of Abu Sirah warned me against entering. Some tombs should remain sealed, one elder told me. Not everything inside is meant for the living. I brushed it off. Superstitions were common in places like this. But on my third night, deep inside the pyramid's tunnels, I found something that sent a chill down my spine. A hidden burial chamber unmarked, unknown to history. And inside, a tomb that bore no name. That's when the real nightmare began. I carefully dusted off the sarcophagus. Unlike others I had seen, this one had no hieroglyphics, no inscriptions, no identity. Just a single golden eye etched onto the stone lid, a symbol of Horus, the god of kingship and protection. But something felt wrong. With my flashlight flickering, I leaned in closer. That's when I saw it. The lid had already been removed. The tomb was empty. Someone or something had already left. My heart pounded. The air was thick with an unexplainable pressure, like the weight of centuries pressing down on me. Then, I saw something impossible. At the foot of the sarcophagus, half buried in dust, was a rusted wristwatch. Not an artifact, not a relic, a modern wristwatch coated in sand. My first thought was that it belonged to a previous explorer. Maybe someone had been here before me, but then I noticed the brand. It was the exact same brand and model I was wearing. I checked my wrist. My watch was still there, but this one, it was old, its glass cracked, its leather strap worn as if it had been buried for centuries. Then I noticed the second object, a small, folded piece of parchment. My fingers trembled as I picked it up. The ink had faded, but the handwriting was mine. The note read, "You were warned. Do not open the second tomb. You won't leave if you do." It was signed with my name. My mind raced. This had to be a prank, right? Some elaborate trick played by another archaeologist? But that didn't explain the age of the items, the watch, the letter. They looked as if they had been buried for hundreds of years. I scanned the chamber again, searching for another explanation. That's when I saw the second tomb. Unlike the first, this one was sealed, covered in ancient resin, its surface etched with hieroglyphics. But the inscriptions weren't prayers or offerings to the gods. They were warnings. He who unseals this tomb shall replace its occupant. A sickening realization crept over me. Was I supposed to be in there? Then the temperature dropped. My breath turned visible, the hairs on my arms stood up. And behind me, footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps, approaching. I spun around, my flashlight shaking. The chamber was empty. But the footprints, fresh footprints in the dust, were leading directly to me. A whisper brushed against my ear, so close I could feel the breath. "You shouldn't be here." I ran, sprinted. Through the winding corridors, past ancient carvings of gods whose faces seemed to watch me. The deeper I went, the more the pyramid shifted. Corridors that had once led out now turned in on themselves. The air grew heavier, filled with the distant sound of shuffling footsteps. And then I saw it. A shadow standing at the end of the tunnel. Tall, motionless, and wearing a rusted wristwatch. My instincts screamed at me to flee, but my feet wouldn't move. The figure raised its hand, a mirror image of my own. It was me. Not just a reflection, an older version of me. Face worn, eyes hollow, dressed in clothes coated in centuries of dust. And then, he spoke. "You opened it, didn't you?" Before I could answer, the walls trembled. The pyramid groaned as if something deep within had awakened. My watch beeped. The timer read 100 hours. A door slammed shut behind me. I turned, there was no entrance, no escape. Only the sealed tomb. And a place waiting inside for me. The figure myself smiled sadly. This is where it begins. But something inside me refused to accept this fate. No, I wasn't going to be trapped here, not like him. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to think. If I was here and he was here, then this had happened before. A loop, a cycle, but cycles could be broken. I looked down at my own watch, at the time counting down. 100 hours, the moment everything had shifted. That was the key. The pyramid was ancient, but time inside it was unstable. If I could disrupt whatever force was keeping this loop alive, maybe I could break free. I turned to it, ignoring the warnings. If I was meant to replace its occupant, then maybe the real prisoner was still inside. My other self watched as I grabbed a rock and smashed the resin seal. The moment the tomb cracked open, a gust of wind, hot and dry, rushed out. Sand swirled around me, and for a moment, I swore I heard a voice whispering in an ancient tongue. Then, silence. Inside the tomb was not a body, not a mummy. but an empty space. The truth hit me like a wave. The pyramid wasn't cursed, it was a prison, a place designed to trap a soul in an endless cycle. But the prisoner had escaped long ago, and the pyramid, desperate to maintain its balance, had been searching for a replacement. Me. I stumbled back. The figure of my older self wavered, his form flickering like smoke. His expression changed, not sad anymore, but relieved. "You understand now," he murmured. I nodded. The cycle could only continue if I believed in it, if I accepted it. But now I saw the truth. I wasn't the prisoner. I was the one who could end it. The pyramid shuddered violently, the walls cracking. A path one I hadn't seen before opened ahead of me, light streaming through. I ran. Behind me, the pyramid roared, as if in anger or perhaps in surrender. The weight pressing against me lifted, and as I stumbled out into the desert, gasping for breath, the entrance collapsed behind me, sealed forever. The villagers of Abu Siraf found me the next morning, unconscious in the sand. When I told them what had happened, they only nodded. "Some tombs are not meant to be opened," one elder said, "but some souls are meant to be freed." I checked my watch. The timer had stopped at 99 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. 1 second before 100 hours. The cycle had been broken, and for the first time in centuries, the forgotten pharaoh was truly gone.